This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by the fastest man in Croydon, Joshua Buatsi. How are you, Josh?
Not bad, Rob, you right?
I'm not bad, thanks. Not bad. Nice to see you. Been a little while. Quite a lot's changed since the last time I saw you. I caught up with you briefly on Zoom a few weeks ago after your move stateside. How have you been getting on?
Not too bad. It's been good, man. Glad to be back in England on English time. Let me hold that, Rob.
I got it.
Sure? Cool. So, yeah, no, it's been different, but it's been good. Happy to be back. The weather's not great today, but I feel like we're approaching summer in England, so that's all be cool, man.
You're always somebody who strikes me as open to new experiences. Try and take everything that you can out of every experience you have in life. With that being said, big move over to America. What did you take from it?
What did I take? Just the approach, the delivery of coaching, the style of coaching. They drive on the other side as well in the States, which is cool. But even though we have the smaller roads here, I prefer England. That's one thing I can say. Facts. Maybe I wasn't having too much fun out there, but I prefer England for sure.
Why is that? What do you mean? Expand on that.
England is, yeah, I think, do you know what it is? For me, I like to be able to get in my car, drive to Tesco's, quick shop, get what I need, get out. In there, they've got, what's that big shop that everyone goes to? Oh my goodness. They have everything in that shop, bro. So, bearing in mind, I'm going in there and I just need one or two bits. And I'm like, where do I start? So stuff like that, man, I'm like, this is long. Whereas if you've got a little Tesco's Express, quick in, go to your aisle, pick what you want and you're out. And also just, I guess, knowing people in England, I know people. This is where I live, so it's a lot easier. When I've got days off, I'm like, yo, what are we doing today? Whereas out there, I only know people in the gym, which is cool. Like, we can do stuff, but sometimes I want to do things that are not boxing related, but we can't. But other than that, it's been all right. I've been doing hiking, and I don't like walking, Rob. Bro, if I'm going somewhere, I'm parking right outside where I'm going. But out there, I'm prepared to walk for like an hour and a half, that's mad. But I was doing that.
Before we come on and talk about yourself, obviously you've joined up with Virgil Hunter. You're not the first 258 fighter. Of course, Sulim Cissokho, who boxed this past weekend or last weekend. I'm losing track of time. It was this past weekend, wasn't it? Yeah. This past weekend. Sorry, I'm still hit from the weekend. Good performance against Kieran Conway, albeit on some, I would say for what it is, some really strange scorecards aside. I thought it was a good performance from Sulim Cissokho. What did you make of it? Yeah,
he boxed well. In the ninth, he obviously went down, but from when I watched it, I said it wasn't a shot to the chin, but you still have to score a knockdown because obviously he went down, but we found out that it was on the eye, which is okay from, do you know what I mean? But so yeah, some of the scorings, I think one judge had it 97, I don't know what the other score is, the other figure is, but basically had Suli losing by like 5 rounds or so, and I was like, that's mad, because if anything, if you want to argue, you could say he lost a round or two. But to say he lost 5, I was like, it's wild. But I watched that fight, and the moment he won, phone down, I went straight to sleep. So I know we're going to talk about the main event, but I actually didn't watch it, and I still haven't watched it till now. So you tell me what you think about the main event.
If you want to see what I think of the main event, check out the Boxing Social podcast, the Canelo Saunders review, which is available now on the Boxing Social YouTube channel. Just got to plug that in there.
For sure.
Staying with Sulim Cissokho, I'd said to you before that when we caught up a few weeks ago, that seeing him box, not on the show previous, but against Echeverria in his previous bout, made me really excited to see what you'd learn under the stewardship of Virgil Hunter. Talk to me about Virgil. He's a very interesting man. He's got that mystique, that aura of somebody who's been around the sport, has trained champions over a long period of time. Talk to me about your relationship with him.
I think what you said there's the word I've been looking for, very mystique. Other trainers, they're a bit out there, so you can kind of gauge what they're going to be like. But with Virg, there's not much of him. There's a lot of what the fighters he's worked with, but with him, there's not much of him. But when you get to know him and you see him every day in the gym and that, cool guy, relaxed guy, very different approach to coaching, always calm, delivers the messages calm as well. So as a fighter, you're like, okay, cool, we remain calm. Of course, unless if you're losing or something, or he needs to kind of get something into you, then the approach may change. But so far, so good, man. There's not much to say, like, to say that, like I'm doing 1,000 push-ups after every session. No, it's not like that. I'm learning boxing. I'm being taught boxing. I keep saying this. There's coaches and there's teachers. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of coaches about. There's not many teachers. So I feel like I'm with someone that's going to teach me the sport of boxing. So I feel I'm in a good place.
Much is always made about the mental side of boxing as well as the physical side of boxing. Virgil Hunter, as you've mentioned there, a teacher, somebody who strikes me as somebody who puts the mental aspect. We've heard from Andre Ward over the years of the importance that he places on that. Is that what you've gained from him in this period of time?
Yeah. There were a few things that, and I'll say, like, for example, once in the corner I was sparring, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to go back to the corner now. He's going to give me instructions about boxing or, regards to what's happening in sparring. And the instructions in the corner was totally different. It wasn't about boxing. It was more of a mental thing. And I was like, went back into the next round, did better, and the following round kept on doing good. But it's just that the instructions he gave wasn't boxing. It was boxing related to say it was, but it was more of a mental thing. And that stuff like that I don't personally experience. It's usually boxing instructions all the time, but this was totally different. So, and I guess on Saturday people are going to be looking to see if there's been any improvements or what I'm going to fight like, what I'm going to box like. But I keep saying to people, man, I'm going to win. That it is about winning. It's a winning sport. We're here to win, however it looks, however it's done, and that's what I'm going in there to do.
It's about winning. It's a sport about winning, of course, but it is also the entertainment business. You want to win and win well and put yourself out there. Now, in the last 18 months, 175 pounds light heavyweight domestically has really been blossoming. We've seen Lyndon Arthur with a good win. We saw Craig Richards, somebody I know you know very well, give a very good account of himself against Dimitri Bivol. There's Anthony Yard there. Callum Johnson's come back. Do you feel like you need to make a statement, get yourself back up there, get people talking about you again in the light heavyweight division?
It's always good to do that, but I don't feel any pressure or anything because I know the ability that I've got. So I don't, and bro, you can't let people rush you or people make you make decisions that you're not happy with or you think it's too soon or it's too late. Or, you can't do that in this life, man. There's the pressures that are around us as athletes, cool, but they're good fighters and they've had their recent fights and that's all cool, and this is what I'm doing. So this is what I'm doing, and when we do fight or if we do fight each other, then we can see who's number one and who's on top, because everyone's gonna claim they're number one, but we haven't boxed each other yet. None of them have boxed me, so they can't say they're above me.
We've said this before. We did the podcast, the Boxing Social podcast. Again, 2 plugs and 1 interview. It's all good. We did the podcast before you boxed Marco Calic. Yeah. And I kind of put to you that people want to see you get tested because they rate you so highly. I fall into that bracket. A lot of people want to see you extended. Do you understand that? It's not necessarily, in its own way, it's not necessarily a criticism. It's more of a compliment.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. And I think even Calic, going into that fight, people were like, well, who's this guy? They've never heard of him. Cool, but we knew he was a good fighter. He was 11-0 at that time, and we saw that it was the hardest fight that I'd been in till date, which again I feel I got good experience from. And to link it back to this fighter, undefeated, not many people have heard of him, and people will talk and won't say positive things, but you can't fall into that trap of doing that. Ultimately, I get in the ring, and like you said, people want to see me in exciting fights or let's say hard fights or whatever it is. You don't know when those fights are coming. That's one thing I can say. Going into my last fight, I was like, yeah, it's going to be a good competitive fight, but I don't think it's going to be a hard fight. Turned out to be the hardest fight that I've had so far. So I can't sit down before a fight and be like, yeah, this is going to be the hardest fight or it's going to be a hard opponent. No, you can't say that. I think every opponent is good and you just don't know how it's going to unfold. But like I say, on Saturday night, that I'm there to win.
How much did you learn from that Calic performance? You mentioned a lot of people gave him much of a hope of even really being competitive going into the fight. We saw you get the eye injury, and it was a torrid time in there sometimes in that fight. How much did you learn from that?
I learned that prior to the fight, you asked me, will I dig deep? Oh yeah, we think he's got it. And everyone's positive and everyone's optimistic, and every fighter will say, yep, they've got what it takes. When the going gets tough, like they will stay in and grind it out. And that's the mentality I had. But again, as I said, I've never been tested to show it. So going into the Calic fight and that happening, I was like, okay, I had to show something that I've never shown before. And for me, it was good mentally and in my heart to say, oh, do you know what? I managed to grind it out. So at least I know that's there. So can't take too much credit for it, but I got through and I got the win.
Yeah, ultimately it's a box ticked. Don't want too many of those, but it's a box ticked. One of the things that we spoke about then, and we've spoken about on several instances in your career, is activity. For one reason or another, nobody's fault in particular. You haven't been as active as you would like to have been. You were out for a career longest layoff before the Calic fight. You're now back for this fight. What's the plan for the rest of the year? I'm assuming you want to be nice and busy to end out 2021.
Yeah, for sure. We just spoke to Eddie not long ago, so we're looking at doing this, and then hopefully, I think, I don't know if I'm allowed to even say what plans he's got, but we're looking at, like, it'll be a quick turnover, between now and the next fight. And then to sum it up, Rob, I'm trying to have 3 fights this year. The first one will be this weekend. So yeah, that's how I could put it.
We've mentioned the other domestic names in the light heavyweight division. Craig Richards, again, somebody you know well, boxed Dimitri Bivol recently on the Chisora Parker undercard. Dimitri Bivol, a name that you've been linked with over a period of years. What did you make of Craig's performance?
Yeah, I want to comment, but I didn't watch it because...
Come on, Josh!
Do you know why? Because I was already back in the country, but I was trying to sort out my sleeping pattern. So I didn't see that one, but I heard good things about it. People messaged me and stuff like that. So I will watch it after my fight. But yeah, it was was it last weekend or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. So as you can imagine, I'm just concentrating on what I've got to do. So after that, I'll watch that fight. I'll watch the Billy Joe fight. All the other fights that I need to catch up on. But I know it went the distance, and yeah, like Bivol won, but it sounded like Craig gave a good account of himself.
He certainly did. And just finally, before I wrap up with you here, ahead of the press conference, somebody else gave a very good account of himself recently, Lawrence Calic, 258 Management's new WBO Cruiserweight champion. I'm assuming you watched that one.
That one I did watch. No, do you know what? That one was early in camp. I remember, when was that? March the what? March 28th. Yeah.
March the 20th.
March 20th. Okay, cool. I did watch that one. So that's like, 8 weeks out from my fight date. So I watched it. In the States at that time, it was like 1 p.m. or something like that, or 2 p.m. So I watched that one. To sum it up, Lawrence won, but the thing about it was that it was the best performance we've seen of him, and it happened on the night he was world champion. So you can't want anything better than that. And it's inspirational, and it's given us the drive to say, you know what, Curly's done it, man. Us lot can do it too. And yeah, like I said, the best performance he'd shown us happened to be on the world title fight, which is very important. So yeah, big him up, man.
Okay, just finally before I let you go, I mentioned earlier on about the light heavyweight division being thriving at the minute and everybody wanting to see, a big performance from Joshua Buatsi this weekend. So on Sunday, everybody can talk about Joshua Buatsi versus Callum Johnson, Joshua Buatsi versus Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yard or whoever. Yeah. What are we going to see on Saturday night when you face Dos Santos in the ring in Manchester?
What you see always, man, someone that's there to win and willing to do what it takes to win. However it comes, I'll be there and I'll take it. For sure.
Okay, well, Joshua Buatsi, always a pleasure catching up with you. Nice to see you looking so well. I'm sure I'll speak to you, if not before, then certainly after Saturday night. Best of luck. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay tuned, listen to the podcast he spoke about, and tune in on Saturday.